Need for Speed Unbound Volume 4 is out now, and the best thing about it by far are the gauntlets. So over the last week, I've been playing gauntlets, and I'm putting together a list of my favorite gauntlet builds, and that's what this video is. I've got 9 gauntlet-specific builds for you guys. Let's go! Real quick before I get into the video, if you're watching this, it's because you're still playing Unbound. If you're still playing Unbound, chances are you might need someone to play Unbound with. And that's where NFS Battles comes into play. NFS Battles is a website that I created to have a global leaderboard for Need for Speed Unbound and Need for Speed Heat. So if you're playing either one of those games right now, you can go to nfsbattles.com, register for an account. It's completely free, and you can compete on the leaderboards there. 1v1, 2v2, and 4v4 competitions. Lots of players have registered. We have over 600 members there. So go ahead and check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. Send me a DM on Instagram, Twitter, or Discord. All right, so I broke this down into 3 different build types. You've got a damage build, a survival build, and then a speed build. So depending on what you're struggling with when it comes to gauntlets, if you're struggling winning, then you're gonna wanna go with the speed build. If you can't stay alive, then you wanna go with the survival build. And if you're having fun and it doesn't matter what place you come in, then I would go with the damage build, because you can do some real damage to the cops and other players if that's what you wanna do. So let's talk about the different tiers. We've got A, A+, and S. Those are the tiers you have gauntlet races in. So let's start in the A tier with the damage build. And this first one is the Ford F-150 Raptor. It's a build that I love using. I've used it on stream a ton of times. I've adapted it a little bit for the gauntlets when it comes to the auxiliaries, but I'll throw the build card up so you can see it right now, and then we'll move on to the next one. All right, moving on to the survival build for the A tier gauntlets. I've got the 2015 Land Rover Defender 110. This thing is a beast, and I'll tell you why. It takes a really good hit. Like, it can take damage from the cops a little bit better than like some of the smaller cars and some of the SUV type vehicles. It does very, very well in that respect. So with this build, and I'll put the build up on screen now so you can see it, you've got something that already takes impact very well. And if you combine that with the impact protection auxiliary and the repair kit auxiliary, you've got an absolute tank. This thing is not like super fast, but it is quick off the line, and it's got really, really good acceleration. Notice the quarter miles at 11.9. Very good for a car of this size. It's a really insane build when it comes to damage. So if you're having trouble staying alive during gauntlets, this is a very good build for you. You could also adapt this to be more of a damage build if you wanted to. You could take off impact protection and add damage increase. You can't run damage increase and impact protection at the same time. So you can run repair and damage, or impact and repair, but not impact and damage. It's very strange. I don't know why they limited that. I guess impact protection and damage together would be crazy OP, so you don't want to put those two together. All right, let's move on to the speed build for A tier, and this is a build that I've showed you before. It's the Lotus X Siege. It is a really, really solid all-around balanced build for A tier. Let me throw up the build card real quick and we can move on. There's nothing different about this one than there would be for any other build, but it is very solid for gauntlets just because it's so quick. It's also small, so you really have to pay attention to where you're driving. You don't want to run into things, and you hopefully don't want to get hit by cops too much, because it does not take damage very, very well. All right, moving on to the A+ tier, we've got the damage build. It's a Chevy Colorado ZR2. This truck has no business being as fast as it is. As you can see by the build card, we've got all elite parts, elite screw supercharger, elite nitrous. That's insane for A+. There's hardly any cars that you can run all elite parts on, and this is one of them. It is a drift build, and the auxiliaries you're going to be using are the damage increase and nitrous drift. Again, you can't run damage increase and impact protection, so if you're going for a damage build, most of the time you're going to have to run one of the nitrous auxiliaries and the damage increase. But again, it's insanely fast. You need to drive it as a drift build. Make sure you're drifting corners. Make sure that you're farming yellow burst NOS before you get into corners so you can drift and use that to get out of them. But all in all, an insanely fast build. You can actually win a lot of races with this truck as well as damage people. It's definitely my favorite build for gauntlets in A+ tier. All right, moving on to the survival build for A+ tier, we've got the Volvo 242 DL. This car does take a hit pretty well, but not quite as good as the Land Rover from A tier, but it does well when you have those two auxiliaries. Again, impact protection and repair kits. Impact protection really helps you with the actual impact, and repair kits help you if you survive that critical stage. So if your car goes down to critical and you survive, it'll repair itself all the way up to fully repaired. So that's what you want. Throw up the build card. We'll take a look at this. Now this build is actually designed around asphalt. It's sort of a drifty style build with a 15% drift handling. I've got neutral steering sensitivity and max downforce. This thing, like I said, impact protection, repair kits. It's very, very good. It's not super great off the line, even though it's got a quarter mile of 11.4. It's a 3.70 to 60. So it's just not the best off the line, but it is very valuable when it comes to just surviving the entire night. So if you're having trouble with survival, this is definitely the build for you in that A+ tier. All right, moving on to the speed build for A+, and of course it's my favorite, the Testarossa. It is a very, very fast A+ tier car. It's one of the fastest in the class, if not the fastest. Of course, there's a lot more cars to test, but for now, this thing is an absolute beast. So go ahead and use this. I'll throw up the build card and we'll move on to the next tier. All right, let's move on to the S tier. Now for this tier, you could increase your horsepower or something like that for either your Colorado or your Raptor. However, I find that the Mercedes Maybach is a much better damage build for that class. It's a little bit more nimble. It's a little bit quicker than those trucks, and it actually just puts a ton of damage. It's a really heavy big body sedan, so it puts a ton of damage, but on both the cops and other racers, if that's what you're going for. Throw up the build card. Let's talk about it a little bit. We've got the damage increase and nitrous drift as your auxiliaries, and that's because it is a 40% drift handling car. And trust me, that sounds like a lot in terms of drift handling, but it's really not. This car actually feels very nice to drive. It does drift and the back end will swing on you, but you can control it. I don't know why it's so controllable, but it feels amazing to drift around corners. So just go ahead and use it. We've got all elite parts again. It's a very, very solid build. 10.7 quarter mile, 3.50 to 60. The rest of the build is there, obviously, you can see. So use this as your damage build. It puts a ton of damage on other cars. All right, let's move on to the survival build for S, and that is one of my favorite new builds, which is the Lamborghini Urus. I've never done a build for this car on my channel before, and it actually performs very, very well. It's a great all-around build. It's got very good top speed. It's okay in acceleration, a little bit slow off the line, but it's good in terms of the middle gears and the high gears, and it's got really good impact protection, especially when you put that impact protection on your auxiliary, and then of course your repair kits, just like the other survival builds. This car will get you through those gauntlets no problem. So again, if you're having trouble, this is a good one to go for in the S class. All right, and lastly, if you're struggling winning races, this is a great car for you. If you can get off the line and you can get out in front early, this F40 does amazing things in terms of speed. It's just a very fast build. It's very quick off the line, and it'll get you to the finish line fast in front of your opponents, hopefully. But throw up the build card real quick. We can talk about it. All right, so it's got a 3.20 to 60, but it feels like 1.2, and it's got a 10.4 quarter mile. It's very, very quick. 195 top speed. That's all you're gonna need in terms of the S-Class races in the Gauntlet. You've got mostly speed races, so 195 will more than do it. You definitely don't want to take a short track build on this S-Class Gauntlet because it's just too long and straight. And of course, this is a full grip build. It's 100% grip, -5 on the steering, -3 on the downforce. It's very light, it's quick, it's fast, but it is very grippy. But I guarantee if you know how to drive grip, you'll definitely do well with this build. All right, lastly, I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. Central. You guys are welcome to join me. Almost all of my streams include you guys, the viewers. So if you want to race with me, come out to one of my streams. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Central. All right, if you have any questions about this video, don't hesitate to send me a DM, Instagram, Twitter, or Discord. All of that stuff is linked in the description, and I answer every single message on those 3 platforms. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Trigger out.